we're going to hit record there. We can't access your video. Okay, there we go. It's back. Mr. Dongle, if you could please, Mr. or Mrs. or whatever gender you are, Dongle, please, if you can behave, that would be awesome. All right, cool. Well, ready to rock?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ready.
Okay. I have a legendary human that I've brought back into the program. So you'll remember KG from the first module with the ego clearing exercise and the DATS process. And if you recall, it was predominantly around relationships. I mean, was that 2020?
Yeah.
It was 2020, wasn't it?
Yep.
Where we had like pockets of not being locked down and we could get into the studio to record.
Yep.
And I wanted to get KG back because so many of you are like, oh my gosh, I'm just like KG. I know exactly how she feels. And you really did resonate with what she had to say in terms of her ego and how it was getting in the way of a relationship and how her ego was giving a lot of fucks to what she thought was important, like doing a lot, baking the brownies.
The height.
Yeah,
I've got a good. All right, we'll go into that.
Yeah, well, she's got some good stuff. And then, I've obviously been through the journey with her when she met her beautiful partner, who she's still with now, and what it took for her to give the real fucks and where she really had to place them and then how challenging that was for your ego. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to ask KG, like, take us through it. I remember you never wanted to put as part of your goals or your intentions to have a relationship because you didn't tell us why.
Because I didn't think it would come true. Like, one of those things where you're like something you want so much, like in my, like the deepest soul of my body, that was like what I really, really wanted.
Yeah.
And I think I thought I was afraid if I put it on there that I would fail, that I wouldn't get there. And that someone would be like, why would you have that on there? You're never going to get there. Or
so better to not put it on there than feel the pain of having it on there and not getting it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Do you remember that? That was in my living room downstairs on the whiteboard. I remember that. I'm like, hang on, we've got all these like intentions and goals on the board, but where's love?
Yeah. Yeah. Because I didn't trust that would happen necessarily. It had been so long. I had been single, and then I had been in a relationship that wasn't great.
Yeah.
And then I, had dated and was like, knew that I wanted something, but again, wasn't putting like my energy behind that is what I truly wanted.
Yes.
Right?
You thought you were like, I want a boyfriend. I want to be with someone. But it actually, like in that DATS process, it really wasn't going into that. It was going into who do I have to be? What do I have to do? What do I have to change so that they will choose me, right?
Yeah. And I was embarrassed to say that I wanted a partner. There was this piece of me, right, where like, someone, you're like, oh, if it comes along, it comes along.
Yeah.
And then I started finally being like, I want a husband. Do you know anybody you would set me up with? Like that change of intention to be like, no, this is what I want. And it's okay for me to ask for that. But yeah, I think there was some embarrassment that came from that too, of being like, oh, I'm easy breezy. It'll come along. It'll be fine. I'll find a boyfriend. But like, no, this is what I want. And how do I actually go after that? And I think we started into that work as we got.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember, so obviously you had a pattern of thinking that you needed to do more, be more, change more, whatever more in order to be picked.
Yep.
So can you tell us, because I remember when there was the one last guy.
Yep.
The one last guy before the guy.
Just hilariously, his name is Guy.
His name is Guy. So who she's with now, his name is Guy. Like it's so freaking funny. But so with all the work that you had done with, I know it's not just my work. I know that you've done other work as well. But, you've done ego work. You've done the ego clearing exercise, the DATS process, your Enneagram type. When you were, tell us about this last guy and then how you shifted it and changed where your fucks were going.
Yeah. I think what often came up for me was this, and I've said this word before, the self-abandoning that would come from that. I would give all of pieces of me that I didn't necessarily want to give, or I thought I needed to give to get that person to like fall in love with me. So it would be things like I'm going to cook them dinner. Then like you would have seen in the module, like that loop that we went through of like, I'm going to cook them dinner. They're going to fall in love with me. Or like, they're going to see that I'm so nice.
Wifeable. I'm wifeable.
Oh my God,
Marry me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like you're going to see how amazing I am because I'm going to abandon everything I need to make sure you're fine. You feel good. You know, maybe I slept with them earlier. Maybe I cooked them meals, multiple meals. I was not bothered if they like couldn't meet me or that they couldn't be all those things I needed them to be. So I abandoned all of the things that mattered to myself to get them to be comfortable so that they would like me. Did it work? Never.
God, that kills me. That's such a clear pattern. Such a clear pattern.
And I remember when you uncovered it when we were working through that, and I was like, oh no. And then when the truth is so, it glares you in the eyes like that, you're like, oh, okay, that's for reals what's happening.
Yeah.
And so I had seen this guy, and it was one, you know, when you go on a first date and you're like, oh, wow, that was amazing. This person, we seem aligned. He cooked for me. So I was like, okay, he's cooking for me. Check. That's good. The other way around. So that sounds great.
It's different to how it used to be.
Exactly. You know, things where I imagined like he lived by the beach. He had like a sibling that it sounded like we would get on. Like you just like things where you're like, you're putting so much on what could be opposed to the actions of the actual things.
Oh my gosh. Like that was just a mic drop moment. That was a mic drop moment.
Yeah, because it is one of you imagine this future life with someone and you think that it's the truth, but it's not, because none of those things have happened. None of those actions have happened, but you can start to piece together. And I think I used to give people more leeway because I'm like, they tick all these boxes. We could have this amazing life, but they never showed me that we would have that amazing life. I just imagined and imagined.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah, a lot of time fantasizing about future lives with these men that couldn't even fucking call me back. Classic.
Wow. Isn't that crazy? Like even just that. So in your mind, you had created that they were perfect and that this was it. Yeah. But then in actual reality, you're not even getting a call.
Yeah. Or they're not making time. Like, and this is what this gentleman was like. So we had a great first date. Anyways, I think we stayed in contact, and then I got a message from him being like, I've come out of a relationship. I'm not ready for something. And at that point I was like, okay, no problem. I was at the point where we'd done enough work where I could like leave that and be like, I'm not going to try to chase this person down. All the best. You let me know if you ever want to reconnect again, if you feel like you're in that point. Cause I there was enough there for me where I was like, yeah, I would explore that. 2 weeks later, he reaches out and he's like, I've been thinking about it. I really actually do want to get to know you. Let's spend some more time together. And I'm thinking, okay, let my bird go. You know, right? If you love it, let it go. And if it'll come back to you, right?
Let my bird go.
And he came back to me. Perfect. This is fine. Right. And so he's like, yeah, when are you free? I'm like, anyways, he comes over that night, right? Like I'm like, okay, action, instant action, wants to see me. Great.
Yes.
Great things. This sounds awesome. Hung out, had a great time. And he was like, I really want to see you. Let me take you out on a date on Wednesday. And this was like Sunday night.
Yeah.
And then we get to Wednesday afternoon and I haven't heard from him. I'm like, hey, just checking in for tonight. Like what time? And then an hour before, I think we had maybe talked like 7 o'clock, 6. Hey, sorry, caught up at work. Not going to be able to make it. Can we rain check? And I'm like, I'm a professional lady. I understand meetings come up, whatever. You do you. And he's like, can we?
Is that what you replied? Like, not the professional lady, but
I'm a professional lady.
I'm a professional lady. I understand what you're talking about.
I was like, yeah, like no problem. I understand work stuff comes up.
Yeah.
He's like, let's reschedule for later in the week. And then again.
But wait, how did you feel? How did you actually feel?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I was like, I think it always came up for me of this like fear that it's just like the shoe's gonna drop or something's gonna happen. I think I was like, it would have been nice if he had messaged me earlier and was proactive, being like, I think I'm gonna have more meetings than I am. Can we reschedule? And then here's a plan for when that is.
Sure.
But I was like, I can live with that. I was like, it's one time, right? When you're like, okay, let's see how this behavior goes once.
Sure.
That's okay. Then he goes, I think he had gone out of town with some guy friends, was coming back. He's like, we're gonna hang out on Sunday. Great. So we're supposed to hang out at like 5 p.m. I don't think I'm going to make it back in time from the trip. He just kept pushing me back. And after that second time, because I like really wanted, I thought this
This
guy
was it.
was it. And I said to Kat John earlier, I listened to this podcast about like, you know, those like one last tests where it looks what you think it's going to look like, it feels what you think it's going to look like. And so it seems very real, but it was kind of this like last big push for me. And it happened a second time. And I was like, no. And it was the first time that I really was
no
the one.
to you.
It was no to him. I was like, if you can't meet me, if you can't even make another date after saying, I thought about it and you're amazing and I want to get to know you. And then what you're showing me in your actions does not match up with what you're actually telling me. And I think that often happened with me where people would say stuff and I believe them on what they said and not with their actions. And so finally I was like, I'm not going to abandon what I want. And what I need from a partner is to call me, is to text me, is to follow through on my plans and make me a priority, because I'm willing to make someone else a priority in my life. That is where I'm at right now. And this person can't even, to me, I'm like, if I was on a trip, I would figure out the way to be home. You know, like if this person isn't meeting me how I want to be met, then, and like always in compromise, but like if this person isn't,
of course,
right? Then
yeah.
I'm sorry. And I messaged him like, hey, I am looking for a partner who is ready to commit to a relationship. And I don't think that that is something that is happening for this moment or for you right now. I can't remember. I probably find the text message, but let's not.
Please send it to us later and I'll put it in the program.
Put like a voice, all right, and a minute 2:55, here's what the text said. And he was like, yeah, like essentially, yes, that's fair. I respect what you need and like all the best type of thing. And we left it there. But that was like that moment of power that came back where I was like, you know what? I do not have to settle for this behavior or where this person is. It's okay that they're there in their lives, but I'm not there in my life.
Yes.
And I'm not willing to wait anymore. And so I had to say no. And that was the first time I'd probably said, I'm not choosing you, I'm choosing myself now.
But what got you to there?
I think it was all the work we had done and starting to understand my pattern. Because sometimes it's such, you're in it or you're experiencing it. And I don't think I could identify that those were the things that were happening to me as I went through them. I just was like, oh, this is what always happens.
Yes.
And I didn't know why it happened. I couldn't see.
Couldn't put it all together.
And then there's this thing after this happened. And I was sitting in my living room and I'd probably done my meditation for the day. And I had this big piece of paper.
Yeah.
And I started to draw this like circular piece that was a build on what we had talked about. And I'd finally put in some last pieces of I do this and this and I self-abandon and that. And I sent it to Kat and I was like, oh my God.
You were having a godly moment.
Yeah.
You like the universe was talking through you, in you, behind you, all over you, in you. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was one of those pivotal moments where I was like, okay, I'm going to have to do this differently if I want a different, you know how they say like you literally drive yourself crazy if you do the same thing and expect a different outcome?
Yeah.
That's 100% what it was at. And so that was like the fork in the road. And it was like, okay, we're going this way now. And then how am I going to go into dating with that piece, which is then the next part of the story, I guess, of what went from there. But I had to learn those things, and I had like there's tons of self-reflection. We did lots of meditation and worked super closely to work through those pieces. And I think without that, I probably wouldn't, or would have maybe taken me a long time. But that was like, it just was the epiphany.
Yeah, like knowing the actual steps that you, not knowing that you're doing, but you are doing to stay in the same place of never being the chosen one, because you're not choosing you. So if you're not choosing you, how the fuck can anyone else choose you? They'll choose you when they feel like it. And you're like, okay. And, you know, for clarity, KG's Enneagram is the Enneagram 2, the helper.
Classic.
Want a brownie? Want a dinner? Want a roast? Want anything? I'll fly anywhere. And so to like, in knowing that, being the helper, to actually choose yourself, it isn't a very easy thing to do. That is a really big piece of self-worth that comes to step in and go, I've been missing for far too long and I want to be back in your life. So that's real liberation from your egoic identity.
It is. And the other thing that comes up for me as we're talking about this is the self-responsibility that I think I often blamed people that it was just their behavior, that it was never me. I was just like, I was this
get it.
perfect
Yeah.
person that I did the right
You did the right
thing.
thing.
I'd followed the rules. I love a rule
Love a
so
rule.
hard,
Love a
right?
rule.
I'd done all these things, and it was this other people's behavior. But it's a mirror of self-reflection, also of going like, where is my behavior out of alignment? And I think that was also the switch. Is I think I did often blame other people
Yeah.
that why was this happening to me?
Yeah.
And so there had to be some like, oh, this is also a reflection of how I'm handling my everyday and how I'm handling the decisions I'm making in my life as well.
Did that moment for you, yes, so it shifted you in relationships. What about in other areas of your life, friendships or maybe difficult conversations or even the workplace? Like, did it have a knock-on effect that was obvious, or was this a real thing of just relationship, man, woman?
Yeah, I think it definitely helped friendships for sure. And I definitely know it's helped me in my current relationship of like learning those skills. I think I'd read a lot of like books around like candor and workplace. I always struggled with like any type of confrontation.
Yes.
But I think it does open these other pieces where you're like, okay, why is this triggering me today?
Yeah.
Someone gets a promotion or something happens at work and you're like, what? And then you're like, what comes up for me in this moment? What is there? But I think the strongest piece for me was relationships. It was a big blind spot for me.
Yep.
Yeah, I could be a lot more self-reflective in other places.
Yes.
But that was just really
like,
stuck.
Bleh.
Yeah.
So then what happened next? You've like fucking reclaimed a part of you that had been lost for a very long time. One, how did that feel? And then two, what happened next?
Yeah, I think there's a piece where it was like exciting, and also I was a bit scared because I was like, okay, now what if that was my person, and if I had put a little bit more extra or cooked one more casserole, that like could have changed.
I got to tell you, the bitch bakes some really good stuff. Your brownies, that brownie. My stepdaughters, my bonus daughters, I'm like, where did that brownie go? The bitch can cook, let me tell you.
Maybe that's a good thing that came out of that, is that I really learned to cook to try to please other people. So it's a great skill, right? The funny things that come from, you're like, oh, remember when I was like not in a good place? But oh, look at that fun skill that came out of there. Great baker. We'll take it. We'll take it. But yeah.
So scared?
Yeah, I was a bit scared, and then I was like, okay, but like I'm like, okay, there'll be somebody else. There's 7 billion, but surely, statistically speaking, there has to be someone else.
There's gotta.
And so I went back into the dating piece, and I think what was also interesting at the time, I think that was January maybe. I'd gone on a couple more dates, and again was still in reflection, like playing a dance with my ego. I don't know if that's the best way to describe it.
That's the best way to describe it. It's like, I've still got the old pattern in me, but I have this new way coming in. Old pattern, new, and it's like almost like a robot malfunctioning. Like, what do I say? What do I do? What do I say? What do I do? Yeah. Twitch.
That's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Is that what it felt like?
It definitely felt like that. And then also being able to then identify other areas that I self-abandoned. Like one area is that I am power. Whenever you want to sleep with someone, I can sleep with that person. I don't care if it's a first date, 16th date, never, whatever. But I did also start to see a pattern that I started sleeping with guys much earlier. And this came in reflection in months and months. And it's in reflection over the last couple of years of looking back. It's like some dates after that where I still was self-abandoning and like, I knew this person wasn't my person. I could identify that, but I was like, I'll do this anyways because it seems inconvenient if I say no. Like those types of things.
So still aware, but difficult to own it in the moment.
Yes.
And then would reflect later and be like, okay, need to do some self-forgiveness and love and cool.
Yeah. So it definitely came up. And so that was like kind of
That's hard, isn't it? When you're aware in the moment, sometimes you're like, I just want to be fucking unaware. But when you're aware, you're like, I know exactly what I'm doing and exactly how I'm going to feel, but I'm going to do it anyway.
There was a episode on How I Met Your Mother at one point, and the glass shattering, and when you like don't notice something and someone says something and it shatters a glass and you could never not see it again, and you're like, damn it. Yeah. And I know I'm going to be better for this, but oh, now it's more work. It was easier when I was blissfully unaware, ignorant, and unhappy. That would have been nice.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, so that, and so the next piece that came up was I was dealing with some like major gut issues, and that had come up in that kind of February, March, which was a combination of long-term of
Trying
things.
to remember if I remember that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much we had chatted about. Maybe later on.
No, I do.
Yeah.
Yes, you had removed.
Well, you did see me.
Yes, you had removed things from your eating, and then were slowly introducing them back.
Yeah, I had SIBO, which is this condition where you're like essentially the bacteria in your intestines gets out of whack.
Yes.
But with that, I like had to take, I was eating a bizarre diet. And so going out on dates when you're like, hi, I've never met you. My name's Catherine and I can eat 4 things right now. Where would you like to go today? Awkward conversation.
Yeah.
So I'd been still on Bumble at that point in time,
Yep.
and there was 2 guys I was talking to. And again, I made the decision in the moment that I needed to focus on myself because I needed to heal my gut. And that was the number one thing that mattered to me in that moment.
Yep.
And I was like, I'm not going to deal with this. I'm going to put dating on the side while I focus on myself. And so I messaged
there's a
these
dog.
2 guys.
Sorry, there's a dog right beneath our feet licking her.
This is like my absolute yeah, this is the best ever. Dogs everywhere, catch on, good times. And so I messaged these 2 guys and I was like, hey, I'm going off Bumble. If you do want to connect, let me know.
Yep.
And the one guy, I never heard from him, but the other guy was my guy.
Fuck. Oh my God, I actually want to cry. Oh, okay, continue.
Yeah, and yeah, I was like, yeah, I don't know if I must have explained to him earlier on. Anyways, I was like off there. It's so funny. I always tell him this. 1, you used too many emojis. I almost swiped left because there's too many. I was like, ew, this is like chuggy. Is that what I was like, oh, gross.
Oh, hilarious.
I couldn't. And then I always say, so he's 5'10", so he's like an inch. I'm 5'9", and height was always this big thing that came up for me. And I said to him, you're really lucky that day. I must have been feeling generous. I swiped right on you because the other days it could have been left. I was really back and forth on the 5'10s, right? Like they were right on the cusp. Yeah, and so I had been on the fence on whether the height was going to go or not. But anyways, and I started was like kind of texting back, but he was like very responsive. And like now that I know him and we've talked about the date, like he was dating. He had also come to the point where he was trying a bit more actively to find a partner. And so he's very responsive, back and forth. Again, wasn't convinced. Like he wasn't. And I think so much I was always like the sparks, those nervousness. But again, that was a lot obviously of my ego and masking different pieces where you're just, I'm triggered by the behavior. It causes the butterflies. Yeah. Right? And the word that I always...
So you weren't getting that with Guy.
I wasn't. And what's interesting is when we were working on like, how do I want to feel with this person? The 2 things was calm and confident.
That's right.
Those were the 2 words that we were working for.
That's right.
And so I try to always still remember like those things, right? You have those things in place, whether it's like I had a playlist, I had words, I had how do I want to feel with this person. I think that was a really good opening for me of how I want to feel, not how does this person look, how do I think, it's how do I feel in those moments. And calm and confident was the repetition in my brain that came up. And so again, it's like I'm gonna try talking to someone different and let's actually see how this goes. Let's lean into something where this could be something that I haven't done before. Okay, we're gonna give this a shot. So we talk back and forth, and then we decide we're gonna meet up on a date, which was great. And I will also say we met in the gardens. I don't know if it was before our first date or just after our first date. And literally my ego.
I think it was after. I think it was after. Yeah.
Running around being like, Cat, he seems great, whatever. But he's short. And I was like, no, Shirley, 2 inches of height to define the rest of my life.
Whoa.
That I'm going to be like, this guy is just a touch too short. So I'm going to like disregard all of these other wonderful things.
Yeah, you're going to give all your fucks to 1 inch.
1 inch.
Yeah.
All the fucks to 1 inch.
All the fucks to 1 inch.
God, oh shit. My ego.
Oh, it is. Isn't it? Welcome to the Ego Shallow podcast.
It's hilarious. And I'm like trying to justify to you on our walk, like, well, this is a bad. He goes, no, it's fine. 2 inches, no problem. I'm cool. I'm bigger than this. But I'm like the fact that my ego, I'm trying to justify these things. So you're really working through that.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to the date, but I just wanted to put that in there as like just the mind piece that
Yes.
comes with that.
Yes.
And I'll always remember we met up for a morning coffee
Yep.
date, which again was very different than
Mm.
things that I had done, but was like, that's where I'm at. This is what I'm willing to do, and I don't have to eat anything.
Yeah. Good point. Yes.
So it was like a safe place for my like digestive system at that
For
time.
your SIBO. Yep.
For my SIBO. And I get out of my car, and there's this guy running down the road. And I was like, is that man running? And then I realized, oh my God, that's my date. And I was like, shit. I work for an athletic brand. I like athletic clothing. And he always jokes with me. He was like wearing like mismatched things, jogging down the road. And I get on my car and I was like, hey, guy. And he turns and walks towards me there. Anyways, laughing because, you know, those are moments where I'm like, I'm not sure about this.
I my car and tell him that I've got diarrhea.
Hilarious, but just like one of those things where like they always say, one, you don't expect it, and two, like often it comes in a way that you don't imagine, which I was like, oh, that's bullshit, quintessential, whatever.
It is true.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
But there's this thing that happened on our first date, which started all of these things that I describe of like the universe showing me.
Yeah.
Of course, his action showing me, but the universe putting these things things I had been feeling, looking for, journaling. And on I guess the New Year's before that, so December, we're in early April at this point in time. I went on a solo birthday vacation for 3 days, and I used the guided meditations, and I hiked, and I watched sunrises.
Yes.
And one of the things that came up was a lot of butterflies. Like it must have been the time of year, but I was running and there was butterflies. And so butterflies was this like symbol that I looked for. And then on the end of the trip, I ended with New Year's with some friends.
Yes.
And at the end of the night, we were leaving, and there's 3 of us out the front. We all held hands, and we're like, what do you want this year? What are you going to have this year? One of my friends was like, I'm getting a new hip, because she had literally had to get a hip replacement. And I was like, what? Okay, yeah, yes. The other one was like, I'm going to get my dream job. And I was like, I'm going to meet the love of my life this year. Again, intention with that. This is what I want.
This is what I want. I'm saying it, and I'm saying it, and I mean it.
And I mean it.
Yeah.
And those folks lived in Geelong, not in Melbourne. Guy and I are meeting for our first date in Melbourne around the tan. It's called the RRR, which is like hilarious. The back. I don't know. I love it. It's a good time. And so we met there for coffee. And who do we run into on our first date? But one of the girls who was in the circle as I said these things, she does not live in Melbourne. She was at the same coffee shop at the same time. And I was like, damn it. Oh God, this is good.
Maybe this is a sign that this isn't it. How could I flip this?
Yeah, how could I flip this? And I was like, oh no. But I was like, okay, I'm listening now. I'm listening now.
Yeah.
And so anyways, we chatted to her and went on our way through the gardens, got a coffee, kept going. And again, joke with him. I was like, you are too enthusiastic about my existence. Interested in my job and who I was. Oh, sorry. What a baseline interest should be from someone. Right?
Yeah.
Where I'm not used to someone who, or
you're
had to be
always
the
the one. Yeah. You were always asking, what are you doing? Or what's here? La, 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 la. Whereas, yeah, you were learning to receive love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Questions.
Questions.
I'm the question answer, like asker.
Yes.
I love to ask questions. I love learning about people.
Yeah.
So to have someone do that back to me, which is something I'd always wanted, my body was like, this is weird. Why do you like me so much?
Yeah.
You should be aloof.
Like,
you should
calm
not
down.
come.
Yeah. Calm down.
Yeah, exactly.
Be clingy, mate.
Exactly.
Stalker much.
And then we were walking up the hill, and I was talking about something, oh my gosh, it's called a documentary that I'd watched and called Manufactured Landscapes. But I didn't say that. I said to him, oh, there's this artist that I love from Canada. He's a photographer, documentary, Edward Bertinsky. And he was like, oh, yeah, Manufactured Landscapes. And I looked at him and I was like, how do you know what that is? Nobody knows who this person is. He's a random Canadian. You're not Canadian, you're from New Zealand. How do you know this? And that was like this documentary that changed my life. What I found out as we have dated over time, it was also something that changed his life, because he worked a lot in China around manufacturing and development and business, and I worked in sustainability. And so it was a mesh of both of those worlds together. And
Mm.
he just knowing that, and then he goes to me, can we just have a house and fill it with Edward Bertinsky photos? And again, I was like, bro, too soon, prove yourself. But also like, fuck, that's exactly what I want from my life. So anyways, we had like an hour, both of us had to go to work that day. And yeah, and then he like messaged me at the end of the day, and then we set up and had, you know, a date a couple days later. And again, he had digestive issues in his life. So when I told him and I was like, hey, like, I don't know what's gonna, and he was like, no problem. Well, let's find something. What works for you?
Oh.
Right? Let's right.
It's your guy.
And so all of those things, and I can go into like hilariously more details that we've had as we've like progressed through things, but like just stuff like on one of our dates, we put satellite imaging of like where our hometowns were. You know, when you could like, yeah, this is where I grew up.
Yes.
Cute, right?
Yeah.
So in my hometown, I'm from a place called Terrace, and part of it, there's a place called Thornhill, which is like, I worked in that area, I know that area. And we went in front of his childhood house. There was literally a van that said Thornhill on it in front of his house. And I was like, this is fucking weird. This is much too much. I don't like that.
You're getting freaked out by just how much everything was supporting that this is it.
This is it. Or on one of our early dates too, I said to Kat, as part of the work, I put together these playlists because we talked about how do we want to feel. So what are those songs that put me in those things of like relationships, career, all of those things. And one that I always had was At Last. And we were in his house. I wasn't controlling the music. I'd never shared that this was on my playlist. And he put it on and we danced in his kitchen to it. And I was like, oh my God. Cause I've always like dancing in the kitchen for me has always been, it was one of those things when I looked at my future life.
Yes.
And so just all of these things that like, I didn't prompt him. They just started to happen where these parallels of these things that I'd put out. And him and I talk about like that quantum entanglement of the universe.
Yeah.
And just those like pieces that come from that. Cool. And I firmly believe, and like the first card his mom ever sent to me had a butterfly on the front of it.
Yeah.
Like just these like pieces of what I would say are like the touches from the universe that go, you're in the right place.
Yes.
This is the right moment. Or when things are hard, here's your reminder that this is what you're coming back to. Right. So there's lots of things, but.
And when you met him, was there, remember how you said there was a battle between ego and this new way when you started dating after the previous guy? When you met your guy, was that battle there, or what was going on for you? Were you relaxing more? Were you, this is still not the guy that I thought I was going to be with, but there's so many fucking signs that I have to go with it. What were you dancing with?
Yeah, I definitely think when I could relax into it into a different way than I had before, but the ego always comes up in those moments. I think the biggest thing for me is he kept showing up, right? He was committed because he knew, with what we knew about each other at the time, that there was interest from both sides.
Yep.
So first, both people wanted to come to the party.
Yes.
And he showed me through action.
Yeah.
He kept showing up. We would do things together. He would make reservations. He would cook me like all of those things.
And like make a reservation or make a plan, and the plan would actually go ahead.
And it would. And it's something that we've had to talk about a lot ongoing in our relationship, of things that I've had to explain my ego, where maybe he's booking a flight to come to Canada. We've been back and forth long distance.
Yes.
And I being like, I need you to book this flight, because what comes up for me is if you don't, then I'm afraid you're going to not come or not show up or do those types of things. So
you actually voice your wound.
Yeah. And it's not that necessarily he then is like, oh my God, I'll book this immediately.
Yes. Yeah.
He'll be like, thank you so much for sharing, what comes up for you, that I'm not going anywhere. I'm here. I'm committed to us. And I think one of the things he told me, we must have been a couple months in, and I think probably was sharing with him things that I'd gone through of being cheated on, this fear of people leaving, all of these things. And he says, my commitment is that you will never be blindsided by me. He's like, if something's not working in our relationship, I will come to you and we will talk about it and we will work through that. And if we've done everything we can to move through that and it's still not working, then we will make a decision together. And I think for me, that security that came through knowing that he wasn't just going to get up and leave me brings this calm that comes with this, because it's like you never have to guess where you stand.
Wow.
And they'll always meet you to have a conversation. And I'd never experienced a relationship like that ever before in my lifetime.
And what helped? So you were obviously bringing to the table, because previous with other guys, you would never have shared any of your insecurities, or you would have covered it up with a smile, or that's okay, that's fine, and I'll just deal with it by myself and eat the whole fucking batch of brownies myself.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know? Oh yeah.
Yep.
So what got you comfortable in? I just got to share all of me, not just the brownies, the this, the sparkly, the happy. I remember that in the ego clearing exercise, it's what got you comfortable to share you.
Yeah. And it's a great way to describe that. Like, I am my full self. I don't have to hide any piece of it at all these days. I think it was probably two part. One, him being the person that he is a very good communicator and is very open to receiving feedback or information about either his behavior or what's coming up for me in those moments. And also the piece of the non-self-abandonment of being like, I have to be true to who I am, and I'm going to tell you how I'm feeling, even if that scares me. And I still sometimes get nervous of like, I'm going to share this piece of information. Oh my God, how is this person going to react? But starting to practice that early in the relationship, where it was the first time that I was so honest with this person.
Yeah.
And I'm the most honest with him out of anybody in my entire lifetime. But he showed me that it was safe to be honest.
Yes.
It was safe to be who I was. I could be like, that didn't work for me, or that scares me, or that makes me angry. I had never really described being angry before.
No.
And like, I could fully have, like, not temper tantrums, but like release this like physical where I'm like, I'm angry about that. Or like, oh, that frustrates me. Or one of my tendencies is I really don't like germs. Really, really not a big fan. And so when people wear shoes in my house, I want to fully murder them. Straight up murder. I will find you. And he still does it, and I still yell at him, and I'm like, Guy Allen Thompson, take your fucking shoes off in the house right now. And I can feel
You give him the full 3 names.
Like, not about other stuff, but like shoes. If you saw the streets of Vancouver, you would understand why. God. Anyways, and so that's this thing, and then he'll look at me and he'll chuckle, and because he knows it's a thing, and he's like, "Whoops," or like he's like, "It's fine," but like he always takes that. And one of the things we've talked through as I've been honest with him, or we'll have conversations, and is he always leans in. And even, we have conversations in the last like 6 months where we have to talk about stuff that's hard, or things that aren't working in a relationship, or things that come up for us when someone says something and you're like, fuck, I just got triggered so hard.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to have to talk about this. And so I bring it to him, and we sit in it. And even when you can, you hear that frustration in everyone's voice, and he'll always just take a pause. I'll take a breath, and he'll be like, can you explain that to me again? Or can I tell you a bit about what's coming up for me in that moment? But he keeps showing me with the behavior that he leans in. He doesn't yell. He doesn't disappear. I still always get worried that he's just going to like hang up the phone, close the door, leave, because that's my default.
Yeah.
But he always just leans in and never leaves until we get to the other side. But that wasn't through like us being at a point where I felt like I was comfortable enough to share, and was also like, if I can't share this with someone, I can't be with you. I need more from my long-term life.
Yeah.
I want my one thing. Bless his soul, he showed it to me the other week. He keeps it in his wallet, and I didn't know. I had these cards, and one of the things that said on them, and I had it up on my like wall, I want to be talking to you about everything and nothing in 50 years. And he keeps it in his wallet as his reminder of that. And that is where I feel like if I couldn't be my true self with someone, I would never be able to do that in 50 years time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm eternally grateful that we worked through some of those ego things, because I would never have given him a shot if I was still my past self.
Yeah. Yeah. It would be swipe. I don't know what way the
Left.
swipe is. Left.
Left. It would have been left. And sometimes I think about it, and I'm like, I start to have, those like, you have like a vortex where I'm like, if I had swiped the other way, my life would be awful.
I just did it by accident.
Oh God, the
Yeah.
accidental swipe
The
left.
accidental.
Terrifying.
So I the only app that I ever got to was Tinder, and then I was like,
I'm like, I'm
that
so
was the only
sorry.
one. That was the only one that ever
It
existed.
was, yeah, at the
It was the only
time.
one at the time. And I remember like sometimes being on the toilet and then just being like swipe, and then I accidentally would swipe the wrong way. I'm like, no, I'll never find them again.
My love of my life is gone. That was for sure the one.
Oh, I know. But it sounds like, taking it back, it really sounds like that you had to be true to yourself
Mhm.
and not hide from you what fucking was important to you.
Yeah.
And by not hiding that, I don't want one. Oh, if I do, yes, it'll be great. I don't want a partner, and if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Mhm.
You got very real and honest with yourself.
Yep.
In that, no, like, this is what I want. This is what I want. And it's not even about what you deserve, about any of that. It's just, for fuck's sake, I want love.
Mhm.
I want love. I want to talk about everything and nothing with that person, that fucking person. And so as a result of that, by standing so still and firm and grounded, what I can see right now is just the literal forces just going, whoa, we have to change the force field because she has changed the force field.
Mhm.
And, like you said, you get those couple of dates that come afterwards and you're still a bit like, kind of like a baby giraffe that's just
Yes.
born, or a baby elephant that's just born. It's like, how do I use these legs? And then eventually you do,
Mhm.
and I know you and I have caught up, and you've said that, of course, things aren't always easy and aren't
No.
amazing. And now that you've found your guy, it's not like, oh, cool, I never have to fucking deal with my ego again. I never have to be triggered again, because if anything, relationships just keep going, oh, it's the same wound, but I'm going to press a little deeper, because each time you open your heart, you're more, not you, but anyone, we're more exposed. The wound is more exposed. So they can get to that piece of it,
Mhm.
that angle of it. And you're like, ha! Oh,
No, no, no,
oh,
no, no.
oh my God. And it's I get it, but fuck, what a ride.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was always, I think that's one of the best pieces of advice you ever gave me, was that it's going to keep coming up.
Yeah.
And you have to keep diving back in
Mm.
and doing the work and trusting that you can get past the triggers that come up.
Yeah.
And they're not going to go away. You're just going to learn how to manage them. You're going to have to do different things. You're going to have to go back in.
Yep.
But if I didn't know that, I think it would have scared me that those things had come up again and they weren't gone.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I think that has helped me. And I think about it often when I'm in those moments and I'm like, okay, Kathy is my ego.
Yep.
My name's Catherine, and my like nightmare is being called Kathy. I hate it so much. And so I think I'm like, okay, here we are. Cat John warned me about this. This is going to come up again. Okay, how are we going to go into this? How am I going to think about this? And it's okay.
And did that come up like, because obviously you were living here when you met, and then you got the job opportunity back in Canada? Was that one of those moments where it's like, oh, I need to have this conversation, that again, you have this want of a relationship, but you also have this want of a career. In your mind or in your ego, did you kind of go to kind of both? Kind of both.
How do you know these things? Were you there with me? Probably. The day that I got the call from the girl who was leaving the role, because I dotted lined into her, so I knew her. She was like, I'm resigning. And I was like, what? And she was like, are you going to apply? And my first thought was, no, I'm not, because that was June. We had started dating in April.
Yeah.
And this felt like something that I was like, this feels really, I don't know if this is my forever person at that point in time, but I'm like, we need to explore that.
Yes.
And so, I mean, but the thing was that I told him right away, and the hiring process took 4 months. So by that time, we'd been in lockdown spent 23 hours a day together for months and months and months. And we were at a point where I didn't have to choose one or the other, because we were aligned with each other of what we wanted. And we were independent and knew that we both had to finish our independent paths to come back together again.
Got it. Wow. That's so fucking rad.
Yeah.
That's so rad.
Yeah. So he was going to buy the house. I signed my contract on a Wednesday. He bought a house on a Friday.
Yep.
And we both were like, we're committed to the
Yep.
long term. We feel comfortable where we are. Let's finish these paths, and then we'll know we'll come back together again. So yeah, at the beginning I was like, nope, I guess that's as I'm putting everything in. But thank goodness I didn't, because
Yeah, I know.
this was my career destiny.
Seriously.
As well.
Yeah.
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 This is like your dream job.
It was.
Dream job. Yeah, it is.
It is.
And so you navigated that, and now Guy comes and stays with you for a period of time and then comes back to Melbourne.
Yeah, he's around. He's a digital nomad this year. So he's been back and forth. He's been 6 months in Canada. And then we've been able to I've been here for a month. We've been in Europe for some time. And then he's been in Australia, New Zealand from there. And we'll come, our combined goal next year is to be together.
Beautiful.
Wherever that is. It's going to either be in Canada, it could be in a different country, but we'll be together. So that was the next piece. That's our coming back, is that like all of those pieces now is like, how do we get those things? And there's a lot of sacrifices on both sides that come there, but communication, alignment of what the long-term plan is. And sometimes I'm like, I miss you so much. And he was like, honey, I'm planning for the next 50 years of my life. Not like I'm not worried about this month, because I know we will get through whatever this is, because we're playing the long game here. And I'm like, no, I miss. He's like,
just say I miss you too.
Yeah. I hate your rational sense of being. Damn it.
Thanks for wanting to spend the next 50 years with me, though.
Yeah. Thanks. And that's not what I wanted right now. Tell me you love me. No. So it's one of those things. I mean, he's a couple years older. I feel like he's got a good head on his shoulders, but that is what I needed, someone who was mature and knew what he wanted.
Yes.
Yeah. So here we are.
Here we are. I mean, like I said, I had to get you back because too many people were saying, oh, like literally they would cry watching the ego clearing exercise. They'd be like watching your DATs going, oh my gosh, I do not the same thing, but something so similar. Your example is it's so universal, you know, when it comes to love and putting yourself out there and thinking that this is what I've got to spend my fucks on, being your time, your energy, your life force in bettering this, doing that, not being like this, not being like that. And then your true self never gets a seat at the fucking table, never gets a seat at the date. And so then that's what you keep showing up as, and that's what you keep calling in. And then, you know, universe is like, oh, okay, well, this is clearly what she wants. And you're like, why am I not getting anything other than what than this? And but you had your moment, you know, and I know it can take us a while to get to that moment. It really can. It can take many, many, many of the same pattern, response, pain. And at some point, I think we just get so fucking done with ourselves and what we're holding ourselves back from, you know?
100%. The pain of being in that becomes stronger than the like other piece.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think sometimes, I think probably when we recorded that, I was still very much in the trough of darkness, like just in it. Like, and I'm sure people feel that way. You're in the thick of it and you're doing the work and you don't know when the other side is going to be. And it's like, you're wading through this like heavy sand, and then you will pop up the other side, and it takes time, but it's like the honest work that has to happen in there. And again, you're still going to wade through sand after, but you're going to get to that other side, and things will happen, but it sometimes doesn't feel like that's the case.
Yes. I mean, you also did the same with this role as well, you know, like where you worked yourself in, up and around. And, but I think like you said, you could navigate that with more level-headedness. With the relationship part, it was just too deep in ego. Oh yeah. Too deep in, I'm you want a brownie? You want a casserole? You know, and going in so blind of what you were doing, and then wondering, why did it turn out that way? Why did it turn out that way? And then, like you said, it's easier to blame. Ego goes, it's not fucking me. Defense, and then blame outwardly. And then to take that radical self-responsibility, it's fucking scary. But this is what happens, you know, like you open yourself up, you see yourself, you don't hide from yourself anymore. You don't try and hide yourself from yourself anymore. And then you swipe a certain way and you go on a date with someone running down the street in non-matching activewear, and he's your guy.
He's your guy.
He's your guy.
Oh my God. I tell ya. But it's worth it. I think back to if I hadn't done it, and I have no idea what where my life would be at this point in time. And again, it scares me thinking about that. But it's worth it. But it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
Still hard. And there's different parts of our life that I have other pockets of my life where I'm like, oh, I've been avoiding you. I guess I'm gonna have to go dig in there now.
Yeah, but but from you back then, like I would say you were like little girl back then in terms of the relationship component of your life, and now you're a woman. You know, I feel that you're a woman. Like, and I know you're a woman, but you know what I mean? It's the energy of a woman who knows herself. And like you said, you go, I know what I'm hiding from myself, and all right, I've got some time, so I better go fucking check that shit out now. You know, it's becomes a bit lighter as opposed to, oh no, I don't want to see what I'm. It's like we become so afraid to see what we're hiding from ourselves that we become this lesser version of who we are. But when we step into it and go, all right, what games am I playing?
Yeah.
What games am I playing? What part of my ego has got me in this area of my life, whether it be money, relationships, well-being, who knows what it is. You just go, all right, cool. Yeah. Bring it on, motherfucker.
Yeah. It's like, that sums that up. Yeah. Yep. That's it. Yeah. And how beautiful for us to be able to be the best, the fullest, like reach our full potential. Because then I think back now and I'm like, had I been the lesser version of myself, what would I have missed out on from my life?
Know.
The beautiful moments, the connections, all of those things, and knowing who I am and being able to make decisions about that now. Right.
Yeah.
All your future decisions do change because of the true knowing. The true knowing.
Yes. Oh, that's it. That's it. That's it. Fucking love you.
I love you so much. I do. So special.
Bravo, KG. Mate. Everyone, round of applause from your home for this epic human who has been through the ringer, done the whole hero's journey, and has come back to tell us your story. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. It was honestly, it's a special time. So I wish everyone the best as they move through the journey.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.